Alrighty, so good morning. It is February 14, Valentine's Day. And so hope you guys are having a good morning. Take a few minutes here, a few seconds to let people jump on the call, or whatever you want to call this thing. And so it's Valentine's Day. Real quick, before we jump into the Psalms, Saint Valentine was a Roman priest, and around 260 something like that. And he, the church was under persecution by a Roman emperor named Claudius II, and Valentine would help young people get married, and he would also protect them from the persecution of the church. And he was arrested and then killed, and he was a Christian martyr, and then later on was recognized as a saint. And so that's how we have Saint Valentine's Day. He was actually a real person, a priest, and would marry couples, Christian couples, when Christianity was not a legal religion at the time. So that's pretty cool. So it's not just a Hallmark holiday. So anyway, today we are in Psalms 25, verses 8 through 14. So I'm going to go ahead and read it, and we will jump in. It says, "Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore he instructs sinners in his ways. He guides the humble in what is right, and he teaches them his way. All the ways of the Lord are loving and faithful towards those who keep the demands of his covenant. For the sake of your name, Lord, forgive my iniquity, though it is great. Who then are those who fear the Lord? He will instruct them in the ways that they should choose. They will spend their days in prosperity, and their descendants will inherit the land. The Lord confides in those who fear him. He makes his covenant known to them." And so, what caught my attention this morning from this psalm was actually verse kind of 8 and 9. It says, "Good and upright is the Lord, therefore he instructs sinners in his ways, and he guides the humble in what is right and teaches them his ways." And so what you have going on here is what they call Jewish poetry or parallelism, where one line will connect to the next line. And so in the first line it says he instructs the sinners, and then in the next line it says he guides the humble. And the two together, the sinner and the humble, that just caught my attention, the two being together, because in many ways they're synonymous, in the sense that if you and I are going to live in the ways of God, then there's a certain posture that we have to have. And that posture is humility. Because to follow the ways of God is simply to admit that we don't have it, like we're desperate. Like we don't have what it takes to even make it in this world, let alone to make it to the next world. And so to be humble is to admit that we need a Savior. It's to admit that we need instruction. It's to admit that we need a path to walk on it. It's to admit that we have no idea what we're doing on our own. It's essentially to say, I'm a sinner. I live separated from God, and because I live in the separation from God, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I have no idea where I'm going, and I'm absolutely helpless. And to be able to admit that, it always takes humility. To come to the end of yourself and say, I don't have a clue what I'm doing, I don't know what's going on, I need help, is the ultimate act of humility. Now, that's a hard thing for us in just being in our culture, to admit humility, to admit that we don't know what we're doing, is something that we have. I know I have a hard time doing that, because the thing that gets in the way in our life is pride. And so if we're going to live in the ways of God, if we're going to seek his guidance and his goodness, then the thing that we have to do is we have to live in a posture of humility. It's the only way. In the book of James, he says, James, the brother of Jesus, says that God opposes the proud, but he shows favor to the humble. And that the fastest way that for you and me to be in opposition with God is through the sin of pride. Like, if you want to be at odds with God, then pride's the easiest way. And so what does that look like for you? I know that for me, it's having to admit that I'm wrong. It's having to apologize. It's having to seek guidance. It's not having all of the answers. And I know that in my own life that there's a constant battle with pride, and just learning how to die of those things. And so that's kind of what jumped out at me this morning, that if we're going to live in the ways of God, if we're going to follow his path, then it's always going to be a path of humility. And it's not a false humility. Beware of people who tell you that they're humble. That's like the most unhumble thing that you can do. But this is just simply kind of what I was thinking this morning. It's what jumped out at me, that he guides the humble. And what does that look like for us? And how can we secretly kill the pride in our lives? So, hope that makes sense. Hope you guys have a great day. Today is Tuesday. And so the hashtag for the day is Take Time Tuesday, which take time to rest, take time to reflect on what God's been saying to you. Perhaps take time to connect with somebody in your world, in your life, in a meaningful way that perhaps needs a encouragement today. And so just be thinking about those things. We will see you guys tomorrow. Love you. Have a happy Valentine's Day. Bye.